we're not done, okay? Because I have for you everyone's favorite thumb. We've got for you today, okay? We've got Brooks Heatherly. We've got no bullshit. Holy crap, I'm so excited because he's talking about my favorite hobby in the whole world. He's talking about Dungeons and Dragons. I get to smash together one of the true loves of my life with one of the true I just couldn't possibly give a shit about yous in my life. And we're gonna smash them together. It's gonna be good. We're gonna make a little like what is this is like, I guess like a little chud quesadilla. It's gonna be delicious. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. Here we go. He doesn't know a thing about D&D. It's gonna be fucking awesome.
Hello.
No. You may say to yourself, didn't we already watch this? No. This is his second foray into the D&D. Okay, this came out on October 8th. That was 10 days ago. We have not watched this video. Oh yeah, my friends. He's done it again. He's done it yet again.
And welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about a certain board game that's removing some factors to its game.
Oh yeah, call it a board game. Fucking I thrive on this shit. Dungeons and Dragons, well-known board game. Oh.
In order to try and appease woke activists who weren't even really attacking the game in the first place. I'm, of course, today talking about Dungeons and Dragons, this long-running board game that's been adapted to many other games, too. It's turned into different things like card games, video games, movies, shows, stuff like that. Like, this is a very popular series that has been going on for many decades. I remember them playing this on that Stranger Things show that was set in the 80s, and I believe the game was around before that too. Essentially
wow. You know what you could have done? Check this out. Brooks Heatherly, just in the future. If you want to, this is just a trick, okay? An insider trick. You can just go like this. You can go Dungeons and Dragons. And then you could be like, oh shit, what is that? And then you could go here. This is Wikipedia. I don't know if you've ever seen it before, but this is Wikipedia. And you could be like, oh shit, and you could just take like a fucking 7 minutes, 7 whole minutes of your life, and then you could close that out, and then you could turn on your fucking bull cam. I don't know what the your I don't know, your old dinner bell around your neck. I don't know how cows work. And you would have known what the fuck you were talking about for this video. That's the amount of work that could have gone into this. Instead, you got under 10,000 views on it. Okay, alrighty, buddy.
Top board game is what we're talking about. It's a game where you lay out a board, pick up some pieces with your friends. They usually 100%. Involve like rolling dice, having some kinds of strategies. You create a character too.
Yeah, that's exactly. These are 100% how. That's how Dungeons and Dragons work, both of them.
Sometimes you play cards along with that, and different.
Yeah, you play cards. You guys know how when you roll your d20s. When you take your d20s and you roll them, and then you're like, oh, cool. What's my wizard sheet say here? Character. Oh, I guess I'm gonna cast Minor Illusion. You take that and you mark off your slot here. You do that, and then you play a card. You play a card, bro. This is some real Verge shit. I gotta say, this is some incredible Verge shit going on right now. I'm not a fan. I am not a fan of this. You're a Squirtle main? Nice.
Kind of styles like that. I'm not super familiar with.
Tap 3 lands to cast Fireball.
Not much anymore. I did play.
Why would it be lands? Why would you tap lands to cast Fireball? Why would it be fire? Okay.
A lot of games when I was a kid. I typically played other kinds of common board games like a Monopoly or a Scrabble or stuff like that.
Oh yeah, Brooks Heatherly, big fucking player of Scrabble. Yeah. He does a good job at Scrabble.
But this is like a more intricate, like tabletop game is what they call it. And essentially they're removing a certain kind of character and they're removing the score modifiers because they kind of think they're racist now. It's a little ridiculous.
You don't even know what you're talking about. He doesn't even know what he's talking about.
A little like hard to grasp because in addition, like no one really cared about this. Like there was not a lot of people clamoring saying this game was negative. They kind of did a preemptive change on their own.
Brooks is so surprised that a bunch of people would be like self-policing on possible racism. He's just like, I don't know. It must be they must have got yelled at. There's no reason to do it unless you get yelled at. Usually, the number one thing I get yelled at for is being racist. So obviously, other people get yelled at for being it. So I don't even, you're fucking. He's the dumbest. He's the dumbest. And no, it wasn't a character that gets taken out. They had a group of Romani people type traveling people in one of their modules called the Curse of Strahd, which is very, very famous. And they were a little too a little too much. And so they scaled it back and like have changed just kind of like to make it a little more like accurate and less like appropriative, I guess. Yeah, the Vistani and yeah.
And I think it's part of them trying to get some relevance, trying to get some, press and notoriety. A lot of reasons these companies go woke these days.
No, that literally wasn't it. So Crawford and I don't know who the other people are. Anyway, Jeremy Crawford is really the guy that talks about this kind of stuff the most, and he's just like, we had some people talking about it, and we decided that they were right, and we were going to change it. That's why, because fifth edition is run by decent enough people, for the most part, and it's a pretty progressive space in general. Like just tabletop gaming in general is like, it's pretty hard to be a chud because people will be like, "Why are you being a fucking loser? Like, don't you play the game? Like, you'll get bullied by nerds, and for being racist and shit." And so, like. It's just a thing. It's just a thing, man. People were just trying to play a game, and some people didn't like it, and they're like, sure, we can make some changes. It's a role play. It takes place in your head. It's like literally half my D&D group is trans. I have 2 different games with 2 different trans people in them. Most people are either on the spectrum or LGBT. And then in one of the games, I mean, not everybody's white. Like, so I don't know. Like, actually, I have 3 games. I forgot I have 3 games. Yeah, it's just I don't know, man. Chris Perkins is a good dude too. That's who I was thinking of. I couldn't remember.
And tell everyone about it is to try to get attention and to sell. So I think that's a big part of it too. And it's just unnecessary change. Essentially, there's a lot of like classes of characters. You could pick different types of characters. Like you could pick a human, a witch. You could pick this kind of monster character, this kind of character. And they're kind of limiting that some because they say it might be racist if you pick this character based on their race. And
no. Okay. All right. I guess I'll just pull it up for you because I can do that because I'm a badass. Okay, so here's the thing. Here's what happened. So pick a race. Let's go with half orc. Okay, this is a good example. Half orc. So here's a half orc. Okay, you can still play a half orc in any iteration of D&D. They have not taken out any single race whatsoever. Okay, what they did do here is. So you look. I'll even zoom in so you can see this a little bit easier for you guys at home. Okay, so you got ability score increase. So naturally, with your race, you get ability scores. Strength and Constitution increase. So strength increases by 2, Constitution by 1. You played a video game before. You understand how video games work. This is what they think half orcs look like. The thing they have removed. Thank you, Damon Werewolf, for following. The thing they have removed is they go. You know what? There's no reason biologically, just like humans, because Here, let's go to humans, just so you can see this sort of difference here. So the idea here is humans, right here. We know as humans who live the human experience that, humans come in a huge variety of things, huge variety of ways. And for those of you who don't know, the ability score increase for humans is every single ability increases by 1. Okay? So obviously there's already a skew towards humans, which isn't racist or anything. Orcs don't exist. It's not a big deal. But because we're humans, we wrote humans to be like, well, you can just be like whatever you want. And so what they've decided is, well, being a human or being an orc, I mean, it's not going to change that much, right? It's not going to be that big. So they offered... They because just based on genetics, right? They offered you could still do this if you want. You could still go with like strength increased by 2 and con increased by 1 naturally as part of like being in the womb and being half orcish, okay? But what they've done instead, what they're including in new things is instead of an ability score increase based on your race, you'll have like 3 questions. It'll be like how do you solve a fight? Are you more likely to punch someone in the face, or are you more likely to try to talk to them? You know what I'm saying? The way you answer that could be +1 strength, +1 charisma, or something like that. The next question would be something like, you drank all night. Are you going to hold down the puke, or are you going to try to puke to make yourself feel better? And it could be +1 constitution to hold it in, or +1 intelligence because you know that or wisdom maybe, you know that tomorrow's going to be. So you can it'll be based on scores, or you could just say increase your scores by 2 in one score and 1 in another score. Just do that. They also have things like that. So it's not limiting anything. It is expanding it. Also, what they're doing is you can see alignment right here. This is the other big one, alignment. I'll read the half-orc thing. Half-orcs inherit a tendency toward chaos from their orc parents and are not strongly inclined toward good. Half-orcs raised among orcs and willing to live out their lives among them surely are evil, or are usually evil. So this shows inherent. It literally says they inherit a tendency towards chaos from their parents. Like, it's literally inherent to their existence that they're like that. I don't know anybody that listens to alignments at all. At all. I've never played a D&D campaign where someone looked at alignment and went, well, I guess I'm an orc, I should be evil. It's just part of the game that sort of carried over because orcs used to be monster races and stuff. So now it's just like high fantasy, haha, we'll just do whatever we want. So this is just being basically taken out. It's kind of like, here are some examples of how you might be if you're in alignment. And they've been doing stuff instead of this. What they've been doing is, let me give you an example of this kind of shit. Flaws, ideals. Hold on, where's the, is it 54? Artificers. They have a little thing about artificers here, don't they? Oh, wow. Let me show you in Xanathar's. They have little things in these bookies. In these bookie Wookiees. Where, let's see, let's just go 15. Oops, not 105, 15. So Bard colleges or whatever. Embarrassments. Like maybe you've been embarrassed once. The way that a performer can go, all the ways that a performance can go wrong are varied as the fish in the sea. No matter what sort of disaster might occur, however, a bard has the courage and confidence to rebound from it, either pressing on with the show, if possible, or promising to come back for another tomorrow performance. So maybe there isn't a big embarrassment in your bard's career. These are just like little role play hooks That time on stage when your wig caught fire and you threw it down, which set fire to the stage. Like, these are cool things that you can add to the history of your character. This is what they're doing now. They're saying, like, oh, based on your class, like, maybe this is something you've done. So what's your defining work? The Three Flambians, a ribald song concerning mistaken identities and unfettered desires. Oh, maybe what's your favorite instrument? Oh, I have a masterfully crafted halfling fiddle, or I have a mithril horn by the elves. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's your real one? They have other stuff. Like, here's the Path of the Zealot, Barbarian. Ooh, maybe you have a superstition. Cool. Maybe you have a superstition. Maybe you have some cool tattoos. Maybe you have a little totem that's like something that keeps you tethered to your ancestral roots. Like, these are interesting. These are like little things. This is where alignment's headed. It's just sort of towards like character development, because it's a narrative character game. But this guy wouldn't know that, because you need friends to play the game.
Their race could be something like an orc. The orc is kind of the one that's getting into trouble here. That's also a kind of character that's from like Lord of the Rings and other mystical kind of properties. And we're going to talk about why
mystical properties.
Removing that, why it's silly, and get into all this right away. So first, let's jump to this tweet. It says here, Dungeons and Dragons officially removes negative racial ability score modifiers from rules.
Oh, that's another one. The negative racial score ability, which is in Volos. So I guess I'll go to Volos for you, because as per usual, I spoil you. Chat. I believe it's 60-something. 103. Oh, Monstrous Adventure. 118. True. Specifically what they're saying is negative racial traits. They're not talking... So you see racial traits are things. Here's the orc trait. Ability score increase. Your strength score increases by 2, your constitution score increases by 1, and your intelligence score is reduced by 2. So, inherently dumb, I guess, is what they say orcs are. So they're just getting rid of this kind of stuff, where they're like, play it how you want. It's not going to be your inherent things are not happening. You can play an orc that can be just plenty smart. It's fine. It's just a way to like sort of equalize the game out and sort of get some, just this sort of underlying systemic issue,
This is from a comicbook.com article. There's the character, and
there's the
like
character.
Here, like this tweet says, it's like, we're really doing this with fantasy characters? This is pretty bourgeois radicalism. Put a lemur and a gorilla side by side and tell me one is not physically stronger than the other. That's essentially what those are about. It's also about deciding the weaknesses and strengths when picking what you want to play and things your character might have to overcome. So this guy's given a pretty good explanation. I think that's a good way to look at it.
Dude, do I have to... Look, the differences in the races are not stopping there, okay? Look, you still have the following traits as an orc. Size. You're usually over 6 feet tall and weigh between 230 and 280. Your size is medium. You have dark vision. Humans don't have dark vision. Out of 60 feet. Aggressive. As a bonus action, you can move up to your speed toward an enemy of your choice that you can see or hear. You must end this move closer to the enemy than you started. Nobody has this ability, so you get another ability. As an orc, you get this ability. Menacing. You are trained in the intimidation skill. That's not a thing anybody else gets. Powerful build. You count as one size larger when so you're a big boy. You're already a big... People know. You're a hardy. You are naturally hardy. What they're saying is you're not naturally dumb. That's the only difference. That's the only difference. It's not a big deal. Like who gives a shit? If you want your character to be naturally dumb or naturally evil, guess what? You can do that.
When you have two characters with different builds, like these orc characters tend to be like huge and strong, and they're kind of...
They tend to be, but they don't have to be.
Like these kinds of monster-like characters, almost like I said. So they're going to have strength like advantages, but they'll also maybe have like a disadvantage to something else like magic, or they probably move slower than like a smaller character. Like
they don't. They move exactly the same speed. He just doesn't know anything. He could have looked this up.
Say you're a small character who shoots a bow and arrow, and you might have not a lot of defense, not a lot of strength, but you can move fast and shoot them from far away. You know, I'm just giving a random example. This guy gives an example of animals, like putting a lemur by a gorilla. You could also say like a bear compared to a squirrel. You know, you see a smaller animal, and it's going to have those kinds of advantages. Like I said, the squirrel would be like Archer, who shoots.
Guar, I read. Do you want to know how I read that? What Guar said is, I've played a low intelligence character and it was a blast. What I read was, because I know you, what I read was, I play a low intelligence character in real life. Yeah.
Shoots from far away.
I think it's lost on him that orcs are people. Like orcs are they're not humans, but they're beings. Like what?
Small, doesn't have a lot of defense. The bear is like stronger. It has a strength and it can't move as fast. It has disadvantages too. And that's really what people are getting upset about. They're trying to like say this has something to do with the real world. They're trying to say it's like racist to like give certain characters more advantages, but it's like, no.
They're not saying it's like racist. They're saying it's just sort of. They're not like, this is capital R racism. We need to be penance. No, what they're saying is, it sort of feeds into that kind of shit. It's not useful. Yeah, it's outdated. It's,
Oh, this is just a game. This is not about real world stuff. This is a
racist
fantasy
coded,
world based on like wizards and monsters. So the fact they're changing this and trying to get like bonus points for it, like they want a medal or something.
But he doesn't understand that a wizard and an orc can be the same person.
Really shows that they're in this for the wrong reasons. They're having the wrong mindset. They're not thinking clearly and giving this story like proper coverage. I mean, people going along with it, it seems like the comic book article is against it. And the only other thing I'll mention is this kind of picture. This is what it kind of looks like to me. It's a meme. It says D&D is getting rid of the concept of evil races. Orcs aren't inherently evil, just like you guys. Wait, you think I look like an orc? So yeah, it's kind of like showing the kind of hypocrisy. Like they're trying to protect, like they're comparing.
Black people regularly get called orcs by racists. It's seen as racist because racists made that connection. Why are you like this? Good call, baby. Boda, thanks for the prime. Yeah.
Comparing the orcs to like black people in some way. Like I don't see it. I don't know what they're going with that. If they think they're like a comparison to like people from Africa or something like that. But it kind of makes you think that meme might be a little true. Like they're trying to protect black people. That's a typical kind of.
What? Did I bring up black people at all when we were having that discussion? Like, that is not what it's about. It's never been about black people. What?
Liberal tactic. They're always trying to defend them at all.
He still thinks he's arguing with liberals. Yikes.
All costs. They just think they're always the heroes for black people, but sometimes that is turning them into like a racist. You know, it makes them look a little weird when they're like defending them so much. And sometimes they go out of their way to defend them, and it's just like, whoa, you went a little too far. Now you seem racist. This seems bad on you. And I could see that coming out of this story for sure. So let's go ahead and read more into this article and see what the details are. I already said the title. It removed the modifiers. Let's see what the article says itself. Dungeons and Dragons players will no longer have a negative ability score modifier when building a character of a certain race. Last week, Dungeons and Dragons officially released updated Errata for a number of their source books and adventures. The Volo's Guide to Monsters Errata was particularly important in that it removed the negative ability score modifiers for playable kobolds and orcs. While kobolds originally had a -2 modifier to their strength score and orcs had a -2 to their intelligence, the updated rules remove those modifiers entirely from the game. Additionally, the Errata also removes the orc's menacing trait with the primal intuition trait, which grants players proficiency in 2 of the following options: animal handling, insight, intimidation, medicine, nature, perception, and survival. So
Yeah. This is bad. This is bad. Why do you care? You can also just, it's in Errata. You can also just use the old shit if you want. I don't give a fuck. I don't care.
So I think this is back to that meme. Like, it's like they're trying to protect this race. They don't want to give them any kind of negative score, just like with this kobolds race as well. And it just doesn't make sense. Like, people have to have positives and negatives. Like, that's what makes games interesting. You got to have trade-offs to help.
But they already do have trade-offs. If he actually had any understanding of how the characters are made, then he would know that they already do have trade-offs. That's the point. It's already a thing. It's baked in. He just is so fucking out of his depth. He literally has no information on this whatsoever.
Help you decide, who is better fitting for that position or who's better fitting for your play style. And that's what makes it interesting. That's why these RPGs are fun. And
You've never played one! Literally what you said doesn't apply to D&D. Their play style? What?
Could be very complex too. So to remove that ability, I don't know how big this is going to affect things, but I predict this is going to be a pretty big game changer. Like, removing their negative effects is going to be like, hey, now more people are going to pick these characters and they're going to be possibly overpowered and unbalanced. And I don't know, there could be like a landmark where it's like before and after this change, the game really had different, changed for the worse or for the better. It could be better too, but
in what? Competitive D&D? Is that a thing? What? Oh, it's a landmark moment for the game. This could change the balance of what? What? Balance of it's what? Ah! He absolutely 100% has never played Dungeons and Dragons. Never. Nothing. He knows nothing about this. He read nothing. He's never witnessed it. He doesn't know anybody that does it. This is absolutely the dumbest fucking thing. He should not be talking about this. I'm so glad that nobody watched this fucking video except for me. Oh my god.
But, there could be people that don't want this change or want to play by the old rules. I'm not sure how all that stuff works. I need more details on Dungeons and Dragons, but I think
they could just do it.
The main point is like, yeah, this game is cool. It's legendary. It may not be for everyone. I'm certainly not a super fan or anything. I just know tertiary knowledge about it. But
no, you don't. Not even close to that.
The other thing is, it's like, why even do this change? There's no one asking for this. No one was offended by this. No.
Who needs to be? You can preempt offense, you fuck. What? What are you talking about? You don't even have to play this edition of D&D. This is like having someone on with a business degree talk about the intricacy of string theory. It's not even... He's not even talking. He's not having a... Even the things that he's obviously saying that are vague about it, like a stepdad trying to be like... This is too real. Like a stepdad trying to understand and get along with their girlfriends or their wife's kid, trying to be like, yeah, the football team, eh? And like saying vague football things, even though you don't fucking watch football, but the kid does. Like, just ask. If you actually wanted to connect, you would ask about the interest, not you would fucking just talk about it like you knew about it. This is fucking stupid, man. Same shit. He just, like, you don't know anything about this.
No one even really thinks about Dungeons and Dragons much anymore. It's been out for many decades. I'm sure there are a lot of good fans out there for it, but it's not like this groundbreaking, like, oh, this big, like, controversial thing. It didn't even come up. They're like preemptively changing this to try and get attention. The updated rules reflect previous comments by the D&D team that promised better representation and a movement towards giving the player characters individualism as opposed to forcing them to fit within cultural stereotypes within the game's lore. While players can still choose to use the cultural generalities of D&D's various campaign settings when creating a character, the updated rules allows for greater expression and also gives DMs more freedom to create their own world where the standard D&D culture stereotypes aren't present.
Okay, all right, buddy. So he started that with saying like, I guess it must be because D&D's not very popular. It's at the height of its popularity. It's more popular than it's ever been in its history of ever. Dungeons and Dragons is like $1 billion industry. It's fucking crazy. Okay? It's fucking crazy. All right? Oh my god. Is that guy Chud? You can undo that timeout there. I think it's fine. I think it was an attempt at sarcasm. Yeah, I saw. Ugh.
So they're talking about this culture and the stereotypes within the fantasy. I don't know if you can really call that like a negative stereotype or a cultural stereotype. I mean, I guess the word fits, but you can't use it the same way you're talking about real world stereotypes. Like,
why not? I also thought it was a bit. This was being changed. Oh, this was being changed to help avoid railroading playstyles on top of the set. Yeah, I mean, like it's like literally more open because of it. You know what I mean? Like you have more options now.
Like, we're talking about a fantasy. We're talking about a fantasy world. We're talking about characters that are like monsters or aliens or from the hells, the depths of earth. You know, we're talking about magical beings.
I actually didn't like the chain very much. I don't like his style of play. I don't think it's very fun for the players either. But I could be wrong.
Wizards and stuff. So to say, oh, you can't be racist to wizards, it sounds totally ridiculous. Like, trying to make these orcs more sympathetic is really strange.
It's not sympathetic. He just doesn't understand.
It reminds me of the movie. There was a Warcraft movie a few years back. I believe it was 2015 or 2016. And it was actually pretty good. It wasn't bad. It was fun. It had good graphics and a good kind of story. Very action-packed. But the funny part to me that this reminds me of is how they make the orcs and the evil characters like more sympathetic. They make them seem like they're not this kind of monster that they've been for so long, which admittedly makes a more interesting movie and it makes more like depth to the characters. Yeah. But it's also just strange twist, and it just seems like they're trying to sympathize with.
Aren't these the same fucking racist idiots, anti-LGBTQ cunts? They're like, why don't you just make an interesting character instead of doing your politics? And when they do it, he's like, but that sounds like politics. Shut the fuck up.
With these kinds of characters that were just typically like the monsters that you fight, you know, like the cool part about the orcs was the fact that they're so vicious and violent, and sometimes you pick them like you're picking the enemy. It's like picking the enemy.
Did he play Warcraft? Did he play any fucking Warcraft thing ever? I feel like he hasn't played Warcraft. Okay, he hasn't played Warcraft.
Star Wars, you'd be someone from the Empire. You'd be like Darth Vader or the Emperor or someone like evil. But what would happen if we're talking about that story, if we did this in that story, we would have to go down the road of the Empire did nothing something wrong. They'd have to do this whole sympathizing thing with the Empire, and that's a whole other thing. I mean, the Empire has represented some other bad groups over the past, so it just is kind of ridiculous in a fantasy setting is what I'm getting at. In addition to removing the negative ability score modifiers, Dungeons & Dragons is also introducing a new set of alternative rules that give players the options of moving ability score modifiers to other ability scores to match a character's background. This opens the door for more non-traditional character builds such as an orc wizard or a halfling barbarian. This alternative rules will appear in the upcoming Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, which will be released later this year. You can check out all of the errata as well as the updated compendium of frequently asked questions on D&D's webpage. So there's a podcast on this channel too, but that basically gets to the point. Dude, I think you guys get it.
I don't. What? So Tasha's Cauldron is going to have the options that I said earlier, like, oh, maybe part of your background was you were a woodcutter, and so you have strength now. You can add strength to your background. It just adds bits to your character that you can use to build a background. They might have 100 options for strength. They might have 100 options for dex, and you can just bake those in your character. They're just prompts, and you can take bits and pieces of all of them just to make your character a little more lived in and a little bit better. I just wanna die. Put your hands around my neck. Put your hands around my neck.